Okay. So Sefer Mishlei, Bezos Hashem, we should be Masliach. Uh, the Gemara says that Mishlei is divided into three parts, and the Psukim themselves seem to say so beferish. Perak Aleph is the beginning. Perak Yud, if we, of course, the Prakim are Goyim. That's that we know from that we know. The Goyim made the Prakim. They're not Jewish divisions, but what they call Perak Yud. So it starts off Mishlei Shlomo. It starts again Mishlei Shlomo, and then in Perak Chafei it says Gam Elam Mishlei Shlomo. Asher Atiku Asher Chizkiel Melech Yehuda. So the pasuk itself divides it into three parts. The Gemara says that he says that the three parts are the first third is the first about Pituye HaYetzer, the different ways that Yetzer tries to incite people, the evil inclination, which you could talk about. We once spoke, was that a malach, was that the person's own physicality that is very cunning, means he tries to fool himself. A person's inclination, when a person has bad midos and things like that, so then he doesn't need an outside force to try to convince him. He convinces himself, and he has to know how to answer. He has an internal conflict. So he has his animalistic urge that is fighting with his neshama, seichel, and these are the pituyim. It's going to talk about how to understand your enemy, know your enemy. You have to know the tactics of the Yetzer Hara. And the second third, which will from Perik Yud until Perik Chafei, he calls it Da'as, and Da'as is all going to be Davar Vipucha, to know the Eitz Das Tovara, to know the two sides, and those psukim and those prakim are very much like a two-sided. It says the opposites. I just open up the pasuk over here. Matzil Pashov say the mes Shafiach Kizavim Mema, Ateres Chachamim Ashram, Mivelas Ksilim Mivelas. Chaye Besorim Leiv Marpei or Kavat Samoskina, like that is opposites, and then he calls Das to know the good and the bad. Also, that doesn't mean about the Yetzer as much as knowing good from bad and contrasting them.
Where
And
is
the
that?
third,
Which parak is pasuk is the second?
that's from no, I just opened it up at random. Like most of those psukim all have two halves, and it's the good and the bad. It's always contrasting the good and the bad. Usually, it's going to be opposites or different sharashim that cause opposite effects. So that's not called knowing the cunningness of the Yetzer as much as being able to discern good and bad, understanding and analyzing the good and the bad. And Perikove, he says that's Torah. I don't know. They have to look at that to see what he means. And if we'll see it, if we would see that in the Psukim, he says that the no say over there is going to be Torah. Offhand I can't say why that's so. But that's the Gra in the beginning of Mishlei.
What was the second shlish?
The second shlish is Da'as, which he calls good and bad.
Is it where it's
Davar Vipucha. What?
Where was that from? I'm sorry,
From Perik Yud. The first one starts Perik Aleph, and then Perik Yud starts again Mishlei Shlomo, and Perik Chafei starts Gamelim Mishlei Shlomo. It says three times Mishlei Shlomo in the beginning, and then Perik Yud starts, and then Perik Chafei starts. So the first third is about the Pituye HaYetzer. The second third, not Mamish thirds, but the second part is going to be Inyane Davar Vipucho, opposites, which is good and bad. Da'as, Das, Eitz Das Tovara, to know the Tovara, to know able to distinguish between good and bad. And Perak Chafei on is about Torah, which I can't back up. I don't know. I just everything down from the Grua. I have a small note on my own that most of the Mefarshim say Chachma is Torah. Whenever it says a lot of times Chachma in the Sefer, and the Mefarshim, maybe Chazal and the Midrashim also say that it's Torah. But Afi Pshuto, and maybe also according to the Sod, maybe also that there's two different things. That Chachma and Torah are two different things. And one way we read from Chazal themselves that they say that Moshe Rabbeinu was Av Torah, Av Chachma. We also spoke about at Hanukkah time that we said that Aaron Ha'edus, that's the Torah, and the menorah is Chachma. So you see again, there's a difference between Chachma and Torah. We said maybe at that time of Hanukkah we spoke about that Torah is Hashem talking, and Chachma is how we can interpret it, how we understand it, the Kli Kibul that we have in order to understand the Torah. So there might, you could call it Chachmas Achayim, things like that. In the Pashup Pshat, it sounds like Chachma something else besides Torah, because the Pasuk also uses the word Torah. So if he uses the word Chachma, l'chora, it means something else, l'chora. Another introduction is that the Gemara in Brachos Nun Zayin talks about if somebody sees Mishlei in a dream, so he should hope for wisdom. That is called the Sefer HaChachma. It's called the Book of Wisdom. Okay, if we start Mishlei. So the word Mishlei alone means a mashal, right? So it could be that it means that the whole book is a mashal, and whenever you have to think yourself of the nimshal. That might be how some people take it, and it'll say something, and you have to translate it into something else. It could be also that the pasuk itself gives mashal. The pasuk says this is like that. This is like that. A lot of times the pasuk says this is like that, and that itself is saying the mashal. The pasuk is saying that this is like that. The thing that you might understand, this you understand, but I'm telling you that something else is also like that. So that might be that the pasuk itself is explaining what the mashal and what the nimshal are. Many psukim are like that. Okay, Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. So the author is Shlomo, and here it says the Mashalim of Shlomo ben David, the king of Yisrael. He's the author of the book. A lot of wisdom over here. You have the wisdom of Shlomo that's written down. Someone told me, I think, of Yom Tov Zilberman, whenever he has a question, he skims around. he skims through Mishlei. There's a lot of wisdom, and if we could, whatever we could glean, is going to make us very wise. I even know of a bacher that he was going through a hard time, and very difficult. He had difficult times, but he always learned Mishlei. He just read through Mishlei. He was from the Cheder over here, and even during his difficult years, he went through Mishlei. He learned through Mishlei. Just read the psukim, and it's helped him very, very much. I remember also when we learned Mishlei together in our group in Talmud Zion. So the feedback was that it's very strong, and even though people think that you can't be so to go to the psukim, you have to go to the. Even I heard that even Mesilas Yesharim is considered like above people's heads, and they go to the Achronim who explain the Mesilas Yesharim, but they don't feel that they're able to connect to the Mesilas Yesharim itself, which is nonsense. Everybody could connect to the Mesilas Yesharim, but even the psukim also, the psukim are very strong, and if people could get the Musar that they have to get from Mishlei, amazing. This has nothing to do with what they call the Muslim movement. Everyone holds you have to learn Mishlei, Koheles, and the Torah is full of it. And people that they don't take all parts of the Torah, so they're lacking vitamins and lacking that, and they only left with the Gemara and even the part of the Gemara which is only the Eon, and that's why there's such a lack of health, spiritual health in the Am Yisrael, because they don't learn the Tanakh, and you don't have to have a Seder Musa, you have to learn the Tanakh, and that'll give you a complete diet of everything that you need. So there's a beautiful thing, like the suggestion to learn Mishlei. Yes.
Before there was Sefer Mishlei was written, what was the Musar they were learning? And if they had the Musar from other Tanakh, why was Mishlei needed?
Well, like anything that's going to be it's Divrei Torah. Once it's Divrei Torah, Mishlei is Divrei Torah. So you can have wisdom that everybody could have as a ability, but you have Shlomo Melech that's able to record it in a way that it's called Divrei Torah. So definitely it's a higher level. Most of that a person thinks on his own is one thing. There's Torah. There's things that are Torah over here that has to be understood on a much higher level than just Divrei Chachma. There's another book that might look very similar. It's called the Sefer Ben Sira, and it also looks very similar to Mishlei, but that's called Sforim Machitzonim. That's not called part of Tanakh. And Chazal talk about some things that he says are wise, but it's not Divrei Torah. And someone might say that there are wise people that also authored books of ethics, but it's not going to be like the Sefer Mishlei. It doesn't have the chotem. It doesn't have the stamp that is from the Kisvei HaKodesh, and every word is Torah. Of course, we'll try to learn it in simple pshat, but besides the pshat, there's going to be Remes, Jewish. So there's infinite wisdom in the words, but even the simple pshat, which we will understand on a simple, just reading the translation, also Divrei Torah. And much deeper. Of course, a person is supposed to use his head, and even without Torah, it's called derech eretz. We said this from the Maharal, that every person has human consciousness, that Hashem gave it to him by the creation of the world, and that's also kind of a Torah. It's Hashem's will. When we have our own seichel, that you know what's right and what's wrong, humanity also has a way of knowing what's right and what's wrong, until they have some ideologies that knock it down. But basic human consciousness that says what's right and what's wrong is mechayev. Hashem was talking to us through that consciousness, and the Torah is built on top of that. The Maharal calls derech eretz. Anything that we would have known on our own as human beings without the Torah is called derech eretz. The word is misused, but nowadays derech eretz people take as meaning manners and things like that. But aesthetics, that's not what it means. It also doesn't mean that the minhag hamokom to eat with a knife and a fork, and the knife goes on the right side. That's not the point. Derech eretz means it could be supposed to do that, because if you're in a place that does that, so it's supposed to. The derech eretz says to honor the people that of your environment, if that's the way they put it, so put it like that also. But it's not be'etzem. But derech eretz be'etzem means what people would understand is right and wrong, even without the Torah. That's the musik of derech eretz. Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. These are the proverbs of Shlomo, the son of David, the king of Israel. Shlomo is the king of Israel. Ladas chachma musar, lavin imrei binah. This l'chara seems to be an introduction. This is what the sefer is all about, and it's going to go until pasuk vav or Zion, as we'll see. At least until vav. It's going to be that what the purpose of these mishalim are. If you count the words, just to read the pasukim without translating it first, ladas chachma musar, lavin imrei binah, lakachas musar haskel, tzedek u'mishpat u'meisharim, laseis l'psayim or ma, lanar das u'mizima, yishma chacham v'yosef lekach, v'navon taposi. That seems to be the introduction, what the book is all about. The Gemara talks about the tzura, the tachlis, that the tzura, the purpose of the book is going to be lakachas musar, ladas chachma musar. That is the tzura of what we're going to be doing in this book. To know wisdom and restraint. The word musar, I think that the proper translation would be restraint. Like how would you say matir asurim? The Hashem who unties those that are bound. The word musar, we say asur, it means that it's bound. Mutar means that, like the mutar and nasa, we take permitted and prohibited, but mutar literally means that it's loose, like untied. Matir asurim, right? Matir asurim. Mutar asar. Asar means bound, and mutar means unbound. So musar means restraint. The person is supposed to be able to have restraint. There could be all kinds of restraint. There could be restraint because you so much know. It could be you know what you want to do it, but you're restrained. There could be that you know so well how it's a worthless thing that you are automatically restrained. You could call that you're restrained also from going into the sandbox. You know, but we're an adult. We don't have that mashiach anymore. But it means we're restrained from doing it because that's also could be called restraint maybe. But maybe it sounds more like restraint is that you do have a mashiach towards it. You have some inclination, but you hold yourself back. And you have enough wisdom to hold yourself back from something that you know is not good. Chachma is wisdom, musar is restraint. Lavin and Revina, to understand words of understanding. Havin, bina, lavin and Revina. So there's chachma, musar, and bina over here. And the purpose of all that is gimel dalet hevav. Look, this is what the Gra says. The Gra says that pasuk beis is the tzura, means what the form of what we'll be doing, but the purpose of what we're doing is lakachas musar haskel tzedek u'mishpat u'meishurim, to be able to take musar haskel. So haskel, they say means hatzlacha, success. Sometimes the word vahi David maskil l'chol derachav, we would call the word like matzliach. They say that it's like a synonym for the word matzliach. Musar haskel. Maybe other people have. I'm not saying it's only pshat. It could be the other pshatim in the word. It's a common expression, Musar Haskel. To take a Musar Haskel is taken from this pasuk, but the Gruas, or some say Musar Haskel means a restraint of Hatzlacha. Anybody have a different idea what Musar Haskel might mean?
What would that mean, a restraint of Hatzlacha?
How it causes you Hatzlacha. Musar of Hatzlacha. Musar, the word musar, like I had before, musar. Here's musar. Musar means musar of hatzlacha. Anybody have a different idea what musar haskel? How do people use the word musar haskel? This is an expression. People use the expression. I'm not sure how it's used. They'll say this is a Musar Haskell. I'm not sure what's meant when the people use the
Like
expression.
a piece of Musar that's meant to understand.
What is that?
A piece of Musar that you should understand. Like
That you should understand it.
a lesson you should
that
learn.
you should
A lesson
a
to
lesson
learn.
that you could learn from it. A lesson that you could learn from Seichel. The Seichel will show you that this Musar is true. It's something that you see. I'll tell you something that you could learn from this. Okay, that could be, and then the word will be Seichel, and Seichel meaning sense. Tzedek u'mishpat u'meisharim, to take all these things, to take Musar Haskel, to take Tzedek u'mishpat u'meisharim. Tzedek is we'd call righteousness, Mishpat justice, Meisharim upright. So we're supposed to learn these things. From the Sefer Mishlei, we're supposed to learn these things. The word mishpat a lot of times means the right hanhaga, the right way of conduct is called mishpat. In general, the word mishpat means that kind of idea. Let's say when it talks about even the Sefer Shoftim, people translate it as judges, but I don't think that that's the point. They weren't so much judges. The Shoftim were all leaders, and a lot of places it's mashma that the word shofet is like the leader, the one who's leading, and on how to conduct oneself, which means the way you're supposed to act. So the shofet is the one who's telling everybody how to act. Mishpat would be the right way of it when you're the mishpat. Mishpat hakohanim meisam v'zeyem mishpat hakohanim meisam. So I can't say for sure, but I had an idea that the word shofet doesn't only mean judging. The right way to act, maybe. Maybe. What's the word? Pashut people learn with word mishpat, justice. Tzedek would be righteousness, justice. Meishavrim, upright. And it continues also. What is the sefer going to be all about? Klasei slipsayim or ma, the na'ar dasum zima, to give to the fools. The word pesayim is pesi, which is a fool. We'll talk about that in a second. We mentioned something a few times about what a pesi. To give to the fools, cunningness, and to give to the nar, to the youth, young man that doesn't have yet das, to give him das umazima. Das is knowledge, and mazima is deep wisdom. The word mazima is a deep wisdom. Sometimes it's used for bad, like Adam Zomerman, the cunning schemers, but it doesn't necessarily mean bad. Over there, it's used for bad. But the word mazima means a deep wisdom. So we said, okay, everything we said, but let's say it again. It comes up that a pesi doesn't mean that because somebody has a low IQ. That's not what a pesi is. Rabbi Yontif Zilberman, he said, whenever it talks about Mishlei, the fool, it doesn't mean the one with the dunce cap, and it means us. We're the fools until we become smart. And why are we fools? Might have a nice suit and looks look very smart. Might have might be a professor even, but he's a fool. And the Mishlei is going to tell us how to become smart. Arma is cunningness, but it doesn't mean cunningness to do bad to somebody. But it means how we can overcome the foolishness. We had one said we think it's very smart, very true. There are different words in Mishlei for a fool. Some come to mind: pesi, evil, and exil. And there's another word that comes up: bar, bezayin reish, another word for a fool. And I had a shot. I forgot where it was from. One of them for sure was from Reb Meir Kahane, which I don't have too much to Torah from him, but this is one of the things that I know from him, that there are different sources of foolishness. Pesi, the word pesi means from pitui, from being easily seduced, to being seduced, pitui, and posa, it means someone who's gullible, and means some people are not foolish because they don't have a high IQ. The source of their foolishness is because they're gullible. They're easily persuaded. They don't stand up against persuasion. If they would sit and think about it, they would know that it's not true, but they're persuaded. Whatever emotional deficiencies they have, they're not able to stand up against the persuasion. That's how all the persona works nowadays. All the advertisements, it's all just persuading. It has nothing to do with the product. It has to do with the lion that's sitting on top of the car. What is that? You're buying a car, you're not buying a lion. But they put a lion on top of the car and you buy the car. And you think you put the cowboy with a cigarette, you think you're a cowboy. It doesn't have anything to do with each other. It just has cancerous sticks. But they're put a cowboy, so then everyone gets excited. That's called the pesi. All these things that are not true, and those kinds of persuasion. So that's the fool. That's the source of his foolishness is because of his gullibility, I guess the word is. There's another fool We'll come across eventually about a ksil and a evil, and we'll talk about it then when we get there. And a bar, different kind of fool. So we'll leave it for now, and that's why the fool of the pasuk right here is. Yishma chacham v'yosef lekach v'navon tach v'lo sikneh. May the wise man hear not only the Pesi and the Nar that I spoke about in the pasuk before, the fool and the youth, but even the chacham also can gain wisdom. The word lekach is wisdom of some sort. They say lekach, nowadays the word lekach means like learn a lesson. A lekach is a lesson. So I'm not sure literally what the word would mean, but even the chacham also has what to increase on his wisdom. Even the chacham also can hear and increase wisdom. The navon tachbulos ikneh, and the man of understanding, the navon, will be able to acquire tachbulos. The word tachbulos is strategies, and that's a big chiddush. You're supposed to use strategies. That we could take that alone as a lesson. I don't know why it says that about a novon, but you have to be understanding in order to get the strategies. And a lot of the avodas Hashem is acquired with strategies. And the Mesilas Yesharim makes a big thing out of that in Perek Gimel, where he talks about zehirus, when you know that you're up against an avera, that you're not ready, you're not able to overcome it. So use the strategies. You're supposed to use strategies in order to fight with the Yetzer Hara. Like all kinds of military tactics. That's what right? Everybody has I think one of Bar Chabura, maybe Chaim Mendel, I think, I forgot who it was, maybe Sruli, I forgot, that the army themselves, they learn from different kinds of animals that have different kind of tactics. Hashem made instincts, how the cat is able to trap the mouse, and how the mouse is able to sneak away from it. There's all different kind of tactics, and he's supposed to use tactics against the Yetzer Hara also. He's supposed to use cunningness and tactics, not to fight head on. The army also doesn't fight head on collision, but you go to make a tachbula. Rabbi Shlomo always gave the example. I mean, always. I heard it a few times. He gave the example during the Milchemet HaMifratz. What's that called in English? The war, the Gulf War. The Gulf War. The Gulf War. Yeah, thank you. So over there was the general of the American of the Allies was Schwarzkopf, I think his name was, and he made a meeting with his top generals, whatever it was, 10 generals, whatever, made a top secret meeting, top secret, and he said we're going to attack from the south at 8 o'clock, and he didn't tell anybody, and he took his own men and he attacked from the north at 7 o'clock, and because he knew that with the top secret meeting there's going to be espionage and it's going to leak out. And he knows that the enemy knew what they said over there in the top secret meeting, and therefore he did it the other way. That's called tactic. That's called tachbula. That's an example of a strategy. You have to be cunning with the Yetzer Hara. So it takes a lot of thought, and that's one of the things to do about the war against evil, is to have strategies, not always to go head on. To understand the mashal and the malitza. The mashal is the proverb, I guess, and malitza they call the rhetoric, which would mean like the tzachos halosha. It means the hints that are going to be given through the way that it's said. Some of the words of the wise and their riddles. I mean, sometimes the chachamim speak in riddles, and this book also is going to have a chidah probably. Probably this book also has chidos. And he's supposed to figure out the riddles that they're saying. The reason why he said in a riddle probably is that there's a lot of deep wisdom that it can't be said dafka maybe outright, but figure out the riddle. And a person sometimes has to figure out his own riddle also. Sometimes he's a riddle, and he has to figure himself out. So this gives you the kalim in order to be able to do that. That seems to be the hakdama to the sefer. Rabbi Nosson Rotman says about pasuk 7 that he calls it like a note of warning to the reader. He finished Hakdama, but the book doesn't start till pasuk ches, and in between when it starts, the first pasuk is like a azhara, like some kind of a warning. Yiras Hashem reishes das chachmo musar avilim bazu. The beginning of wisdom is Yiras Hashem. It means all the psukim talk about all kinds of wisdoms. Now he says that the beginning of das, the beginning of knowledge, is Yiras Hashem. Chachma u'musar evilim bazu. But evilim, that's another word for a fool. Here it is. Evil is a word for a fool. Before we had a pesi, here we have evil. So they scorn. The fools scorn wisdom and restraint. Here you have Chachma Musar, which we have over there in Pasuk Beis, Ladas Chachma Musar. Now he says, Chachma Musar Evilim Bozu, that the fools, they scorn wisdom and restraint.
What does it mean,
So,
Rishis Das Yiras Hashem? What does that mean?
I think it means the Pashup Shad is that the first thing about knowledge is to have Yiras Hashem. The beginning of Das is first Yiras Hashem. The Das is not going to do anything for you if you don't have Yiras Hashem. The little note that I wrote here is Lo tikablu to'elet me'asefer rak Yiras Hashem aval avilim yavuzu. That you have to have Yiras Hashem in order to get anything out of the Das. The first thing of Das, the Aleph base is Yiras Hashem. Then you could utilize the wisdom that you're going to get. But otherwise, the Das is not worth anything. Like you see, Chachma Musa, Vilim Bazu. The fools, they scorn the wisdom. They're not interested in all that, and it's not going to help them. It's not the evil. It's not going to help him to. He wants to say the evil is going to be somebody who doesn't have the Yiras Hashem. That's the pasuk seems to contrast it. Yiras Hashem is Rishis Das. Chachma Musa seems if you make a connection between the beginning and the end of the pasuk, that might be the idea that you have to have Yiras Hashem in order to gain anything from the Das. There might be a mashmos also that the top wisdom is going to be Yiras Hashem, which is very much on the line of the Mesilas Yesharim and Akdama, that he proves that Yiras Hashem is a wisdom. Yiras Hashem, Reishis Chachma, other pasuk is going to be Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem, which seems to be the same thing. Here it says Reishis Das, there it says Reishis Chachma. The order is different. Yiras Hashem, Reishis Das, Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. It seems to be the same idea, more or less. But one is Chachma, one is Das. In general, Chachma, Bina, Das, those are three different kinds of wisdoms. Chachma, they translate as wisdom. Bina is understanding. Das as knowledge. I heard from Rabbi Shlomo, in general, I'm not sure if this is always going to carry through, but Chachma means to know the wisdom, to know the facts, so to speak. And not only facts, but it's enough to be a wisdom. Wisdom means that you think facts that you could utilize, like a science. If you know math, that's called a chachma. If you're just going to know two numbers that equally, you know what 2 and 2 is for, but you don't know the wisdom of figuring out 2 and 2 is for. I'm giving, of course, an example doesn't need any. But if you know some kind of an equation, but you don't understand the chachma of the how to make the equation, so you don't have chachma. You just have that fact. But chachma means that you have the science that you're able to apply in other cases also. If you know the music notes, so you have a chachma. Now you could read music, you could write music. You understand it. You can understand it. You have the wisdom. You have the science. Just knowing facts alone, I don't think you would call chachma. Only if it's something that you can apply in other cases. Bina means that you take it apart. That's in general that you're able to analyze it. The bina is going to be the analysis. You take it apart to all of its different parts, and that gives you a better understanding of what it is. Let's say you take a table. The table, you see the picture of the table, that's the chachma. You see that you know that it's a table. But to be able to take it apart, take it apart, I don't mean literally with a hammer and a screwdriver. I mean to be able to analyze it, all of its parts, and to see what the components are. And then you're able to also to apply it to other cases also. It means you wouldn't be able to apply it if you don't have the bina. I'm not sure. I might have contradicted myself now before that I said chachma alone means you have the wisdom. That's that you're able to use. It's the science you're able to use. Bina is to understand one thing, to understand more than you've been given. That that I'm able to extract more than I was told. Even if you say that the chachma is going to be the wisdom already, that's the applied. You could apply it, but if you could extract new information from the facts that you know, from the wisdoms that you know, you could extract from it. That's going to be called bina. And das is this I think holds out a lot of times, but I don't know if it's going to be absolute. That the das means that the decision that you make after you've weighed the chachma and the bina, so then you make a decision and you keep onto your bina, you keep onto your decision to be able to carry through. That's called the das. Now, the example that I heard from Rabbi Shlomo was a king that he wants to strengthen his kingdom. So he'll call in his advisors. He has the Chachamim and the Nevonim. The Chachamim will say all the ways that it's possible for him to strengthen his kingdom. And it means they look at the tachlis. It means you want to strengthen the kingdom, I'll tell you 5 ways how to strengthen your kingdom. The Bina is going to see how it's not exactly what I said about analyzing it, but seeing how it bashetach, how it's gonna, which ones are practical. As if the father has the wisdom, the chachma, and the mother has to apply it to the children. So she takes out from what the father said, what the father speaks by the Shabbos table, so to speak, and the mother is listening, and then she has to give it over to the kids. So the father, the chacham, is turned towards the tachlis, the thing that he wants to give over, the point that he wants to get across. And the mother has to see how much the kids how much seichel the kids have, how they can accept, how could they accept it, say it over in a story, whatever, make some kind of mitzvah, whatever that the kid should do what the father wants. So that's the application to the how to give it over. So I'm not sure if I'm saying different ideas, but the das would be the actual. Then the das is going to be at the end after the king got his advice from the chachamim and the nevonim. What are we going to do now? Like, what's the plan of action and to carry it through? And that's what it says. Nashim daitan kalos. That nashim, they don't have a strong das. They have a lot of chachma, maybe, and they have even more bina than the men. That the nashim have a bina yisera. They have even stronger koach of bina than the men do in general. But the das is what they're daitan kalos, that they don't carry out. They're easily persuaded, so to speak, as Rabbi Miller would say, that they don't carry out the decision. They might have had a decision, and then it's easily persuaded. They don't hold on to the decision. That's something in the teva of women, that men are stronger than women at that point. So here it says that we just talked about Reishis Das, Reishis Chachma. I just tried to explain. We had these three words already. We had Chachma, Bina, and Das. I tried to say some kind of an understanding of these three concepts. Probably we'll get more as we go along. According to Rav Nosson Rotman, the Sefer now starts. Shmabani starts the Sefer. Till now it was an introduction, and then one pasuk of a warning that you have to have Yiras Hashem in order to appreciate the wisdom that we're going to be learning. So that's the start. We can't get too far, but we'll start. Shmabani Musar Avicha Val Titosh Tarasi Mecha. So this is the beginning of the Sefer, and a father is talking to his son. So who's that? Every father to every son. Or Shlomo HaMelech to his son, or David HaMelech to Shlomo HaMelech, or every father says to his son. Or it's telling everybody to listen to his father and his mother. Maybe that also might be something, that the father gives Musar and the mother gives Torah. That's interesting. So the word Musar means the restraint. Listen, my son, the restraint of your father, and do not forsake the teachings, the instructions of your mother.
How could this be the mitzvah of Torah is on the father?
So right, so here the Torah, you're asking Kasha, right? That it doesn't say Torah Savicha, the Torah. So here the word Torah, I don't think means Torah that we call the Torah, that Hashem's Torah, that Hashem gave the Torah. The word Torah means instruction. So the word, like the Hara, base Hara, Amora Hara, it means Amora Derech, it means instructor, teacher. So Asimecha would mean the instruction of your mother. Shema b'ni musar bicha, listen, my son, the restraint of your father means the Musar teachings, the restraint that your father is teaching you, the things that your father is telling you to restrain yourself from, and do not forsake the teachings of your mother, the instructions of your mother. There are some things attributed to the father, some things attributed to the mother, and it could be, I think, that the Maharal maybe says that Torah Simecha means things that, like Shmarya said, that the father knows Torah. The mother doesn't have Torah. What does she know? She knows Derech Eretz. She knows things that we would know without the Torah. And that's also something to listen to. There's also a Gemara in Brachos I wrote Lamed Hey that is referring to Knesset Yisrael. That is referring to Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is called the mother. Means there's a nation. And over there, the Gemara himself, I think, talks about the obligation to do minhagim. And of course, minhagim is a big subject. We should talk about it one day. There are different kinds of minhagim. There's latkes minhagim, and there's a kippel minhagim, dreidel minhagim. Those minhagim is culture. Nice thing, but not to get too carried away, not heavy. But there's minhagim that really minhagim halacha, minhagim siyag, minhagim who you paskin like. So there's strong minhagim of chumrah. So that's called Am Yisrael. That's called Torah Simecha. That's that the nation. The nation also teaches. So that's something that the Gemara calls Torah, based on this pasuk, I think. Al titosh Torah Simecha. But in the Pashup Pshat, that the son, we speak to the son, and each person should look at himself as the son, And the father says, listen, my son, to the restraints of you that your father is teaching you, and to the instruction that your mother don't forsake. Because they are an accompaniment of charm to your head. The word Livia means a chibur, like Levi. She called Leah called her son Levi. Ata yilaveh ishi elai. Now my husband will be connected to me. It means connected. Levaya, when you do levaya, it means accompaniment. Totzaat levai. Right? They call what do they call that? How do they call it? But medicines that it has side effects. Tofaat levai, something. It means accompanied. So the word accompanied. So they're an accompaniment of charm, chen, to your head, and a necklace, anakim, a necklace to your throat. Means it beautifies you. The word gagar is like a neck. So the Musa of your father and the Torah of your mother are going to be like ornaments. It's going to adorn you on your head, on your throat. And now the first Musa he's going to say is not being seduced by bad friends. This is going to, now it starts like the first subject he talks about. First, it was also kind of an introduction that the father says, and now it talks about the first instruction that he says is not to follow sinners. We'll stop over here. We'll come back again from Pasuk Yud again next time. My son, if the sinners, chataim doesn't mean sins, then it would have a chata pasach under the ches, but only as a patach. That means a sinner. If the sinners try to seduce you, do not agree. And he continues to talk to how they're going to try to seduce you. And he goes on, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet. That's all the seduction that they're trying to tell you. And then Pasuk Tezvav comes back again and says, B'ni al te'elech v'derech hitam, v'nai rak l'cham v'nesiva. Some don't go together with them. So to be continued, Shlomo, I think, is a great idea. I hope everybody's enjoying it. And any kind of more defined methods of how to do it, so please, everybody, let me know so we can continue in a way that everybody enjoys.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Kol tov, have a good night. See you next week, everybody. Bezrat Hashem.